Hello and welcome to episode 6. This is where we're looking at the Hoard of the Dragon Queen or Tyranny of Dragons, and the episode is called Castle Narrytar. In the last chapter, your players dropped down a trapdoor and walked along a long tunnel, and this is where that picks up. It explains that the tunnel to the castle is 15 miles. 15 cold, muddy, difficult miles. It will take the characters 2 days to reach there because it's swampland, it's difficult terrain, it's hard work. The characters can navigate this because lizard folk scratch on trees the way that they are heading, and also the tracks that they make can be followed. On the first evening of this travel, or time as you dictate, they reach their first time to camp down. Here's the text. It isn't much of a camp, just a clearing that's slightly drier than the muck you've been wading through, but 4 wicker lean-tos and a stone platform for lighting a fire above the soggy ground command attention in this wilderness. 3 dugout canoes are drawn up near one of the lean-tos. A few dozen yards beyond the campsite in the direction you've been travelling, dry land ends. Other than moss-covered trees, fallen logs and thick clumps of reeds, nothing rises above the still black water. So with lizard folk up ahead in 3 canoes, the 9 lizard folk, the players may want to ambush them, but the idea is that they're following them. However, you could have them mingle together and try and get information out of the lizards. If they do have a meeting as such with these lizard folk, the main lizard is called Snapjaw. The lizard folk don't actually want the cultists in this next location, the castle. And so, with a little bargaining, Snapjaw could be the key to getting shown around the castle or having inside knowledge. However, Snapjaw won't want his comrades to know that you've been talking to him in such a way. If Snapjaw is not mistreated, then he could become an ally. And I seem to remember I brought him back in Rise of Tiamat later in this series. So you end up just canoeing through black, swampy marshland. There is a roll table for the Mere of Dead Men encounters. It has bullywugs, crocodiles, giant lizards, quicksand, shambling mound, will-o'-the-wisps. Now, I seem to remember I had them camp on an embankment in the night, and a shambling mound came and gave them quite a tough combat. Shambling mounds try and get around you, encase you inside. Then the next encounter was bright lights, weird twinkling lights, luring them to quicksand. So this castle, 100 years ago, was owned by a wizard. The swamps have been spreading and made it almost unlivable. He decided to go. After that, there was an astrology club called the Academy of Stargazers. They installed a magical thing called the Farseer of Ilusk. Basically, in the observatory, you could look through it and it does something special. The Black Half-Dragon Resmir found this castle, made a friendship with the bullywugs in the area, and decided it would be a useful place to have under his wings. It made the journey easier than going round, basically. So Resmir employed lizard folk and bullywugs to do some lifting. Not too far away is also the lair of a dragon, Vorag Hamanathar. Resmir obviously made a little bit of a deal saying, look, we're going to be in the area, don't mind us, and because there were 2 sort of black dragon types, that seemed okay. All these alliances of all the different kinds is unstable though, so it could lead to chaos. Now, under Resmir, there's a wearer of purple, as we discussed before, an elf named Dralmora Borngrey. Borngrey is against the locals helping. Borngrey hates anyone who isn't a dragon. He wants everybody dead. So he is the leader of the cultists in this episode. Bullywugs also have a boss called Farblex Spatagoo. His religion is a mishmash of confused tradition, borrowed mysticism, hallucinogenic intoxicants, and manufactured law that serves more as a road to personal power than as a spiritual system for the Bullywugs. Farblex hopes that if Tiamat arrives eventually, that she will hand the castle back over to him. The lizard folk are a tribe called the Scaly Death Tribe. They have no leader because Farblex killed them. So you can understand why there's an uneasy alliance between those parties. As Barajos can teleport here from a teleportation circle in the basement. More of a swampy dungeon, really. And that teleportation circle is where the story travels from to the next chapter. And I'll make it clear at this point, there is one control word to get that teleportation circle going. it is in this location on a piece of paper. If the players don't find it, they're not going anywhere. So the characters need to somewhat stay in infiltration mode, pretending to be cultists, but a fight could break out and they could be uncovered. So this could be a big battle to get out of there, which is fun. So if a battle kicks off with the players, Resmi the Black Dragon and Desbara Joss go straight to the teleportation circle and are out of harm's way for this chapter. Borngray the Elf and Farblax the Bullywug will fight to the death over their principles. They will even join forces against the players. The Bullywugs are generally cowardly, but will protect their leader Farblax. The lizard folk are brave fighters, but they hate the Bullywugs. The cultists will fight openly, but if you take out their leader, Dralmora Borngray, then they become unruly and have no focus. Do what you want with them. I don't have proper lizard folk, but these Warhammer Kroot did quite well. This was Snapjaw, the more lizard-looking fella. He's the leader, as I say. I've got my Swampy Land tiles, and your players can wipe them out or form some sort of alliance for information. Now, I found this map quite poor, but now I kind of understand what's going on. They approach from here, and there are some... These are supposed to be reed huts, I believe. Bullywugs kind of live in these huts, and then the lizard folk live in long houses. These are a bit more civilised. And then you've got the castle itself. So if this is the swampland, I have the lizard huts on one side, I have the Bullywug little tents on the other, and then the castle in the distance. That's just to help you out, really, have an idea of what we're looking at. Area 1 then is the landing. There's a half a dozen dugout canoes pulled on the land here. If characters need to go in a hurry, there's a chance there's some here. Area 2 is Animal Stockade. The lizard folk keep their giant lizards penned up here. There are 2d4 giant lizards in a pen at any time. Think impressive crocodiles. The characters can let them loose to rampage and kill bullywugs and do something pretty cool, and lizard folk. And if you poke them through the bars, that will rile them into a frenzy. 3 is the lizard folk longhouses. The longhouses are made from reeds bound into long, thick bundles and bent into upside-down U-shaped ribs. The spaces between the ribs are latticed and thatched with more reeds. Each longhouse has a single woven door in the centre of one end wall. The construction technique used in the longhouses is ingenious. Gear hangs from pegs on the walls so that it keeps off the mossy, muddy ground. There are stone ovens inside with coal in to keep the area free from damp. 25 lizards house in each one of these crowded longhouses. If they want numbers, there's about 100 lizard folk at this camp, but some come and go doing errands and such like. Area 4 is the Bullywug huts. A dozen or more huts are placed haphazardly on the boggy ground. Each is shaped like a slightly flattened dome. The doorways are open, but a low, short tunnel forces a creature to crawl into the hut. They are made of reeds woven through a lattice with a generous layer of mud, grass and dung smeared over the whole thing. Mud, swamp water and muck slops between the huts and even flows in and out of the low open doorways. They have no sense of privacy or personal space. The bullywugs all squeeze on top of each other, just like frogs. 8 giant frogs randomly hop about or sit in puddles of standing water. But anyone who stands carelessly within 15 foot of their long tongues gets lashed. Area 5, the moat around the castle has 6 crocodiles. Area 6 is the main gate, the only entrance into the castle that's used. The gates are never closed and the portcullis is rigged so it can drop at the pull of a lever. But since it was last used, it's rusted. So ground floor Area A is guarded by 10 bullywugs and 1d6 giant frogs. There's sloppy mud covering the floor of this large stone chamber. Planks have been laid from the gateway to the causeway entrance to create a 10-foot wide raised boardwalk for people who don't want to walk over mud. So the floor's mud and there's these planks to get people in. So the only real thing of note is these stairs upwards. If the players want to be a real pain, they'll go up there. Otherwise, there's a long causeway. It has no roof, so you couldn't get arrowed from above. At any time in C, there are 1d6 minus 1, for some reason, bullywugs, 1d6 minus 1 lizard folk present. The lizard folk are likely to be working, training with giant lizards, while the bullywugs might be loafing or giving orders to lizard folk. Now, my miniatures here actually are meant to simulate fight practice. Maybe the cultists teaching lizards to fight. Maybe I misread it back then, or maybe I just did that because it was more visual. Moving through these and up to D, this is patrolled by 3 guard drakes at all hours of the day. They attack anyone they don't recognise or who isn't accompanied by someone they do recognise. So this tower, the northwest tower, the door is off its hinges and lies on the floor, and the wooden floor is completely rotted away. So maybe it just like comes up to this bit and then there's just a drop. There must have been a wooden floor in this tower when it was built to cover the dungeon pit beneath it. Now the floor is gone and the dungeon has been turned into a garbage pit and latrine filled with foul-smelling waste and swamp water to just a few feet below the level of the doorway. The floor above is badly rotted and large portions have collapsed. Through the gaping holes in the second floor you can see that a third floor is still in good condition. But to reach the stone stairs that circle upward around the outer wall, you must cross 10 feet of indescribable muck. So down below is a monster that consumes garbage. They're at risk from a tentacle attack. This area, Area F, is the stables. The fittest, most ferocious of the giant lizards are here. It was originally built for horses, but now has 8 giant lizards. If you linger here for too long, the lizards start thrashing around, alerting 4 lizard folk, who are their handlers, to come in and calm them. There is a ladder in the southeast corner and it allows you access to a loft above. Next door is G, which is the lower barracks. 12 bullywugs eye you suspiciously from a room that might have been a tidy barracks once. Now it is largely empty of furniture, much of the floor is churned into mud and the stink of bullywugs permeates everything. 12 bullywugs in here. There is a stairway at the far end, but they won't let anybody up, and they won't take orders from somebody they don't know. Possible fight in this area. There's 3 mud-spattered chests underneath the staircase. These chests combined contain 30,000 copper, 500 silver, and jewellery worth 350 gold, for a total value of 700 gold. Now, amongst all the copper and everything else is a tiny small mahogany box containing 2 potions of healing, 1 vial of oil of etherealness, which is quite a good find if you have that battle. In H, a large forge dominates the centre of this chamber, which is pleasantly warm thanks to a bed of coals glowing dully in the forge. Half a dozen lizard folk are working around the forge, but they don't seem to be accomplishing much. Other accoutrements of the blacksmith's trade are scattered through the room, and many very poorly made metal items are heaped in a corner. The 6 lizard folk in this room won't attack unless they are antagonised, so any blacksmithing tool or metal working tool of some sort could be lifted from this room. 20 lizard folk serve as backup guards here. When they're not drilling with their weapons, lizard folk gather here, swapping stories of better times. They won't attack, probably. They don't know who's cultists and who isn't. They're none the wiser. Then in this area J, 10 lizard folk get rest in here. They sleep on reed pallets, spread across the floor in no pattern. It's meant to be empty during the day, and at night there's 10. Over in K, pretty much an echo of this room. Across the way in L is a chapel. This was a chapel, I should say. It's now been turned into a shrine. There's a wooden statue of a dragon queen. It's kind of been changed to look half like a dragon and half like lizard folk though. There's a hidden compartment in that statue which contains a dagger of venom. M is a storeroom. It says nothing of value, but come on, give them something. N used to be living quarters. It got looted ages ago, but now 4 dragon claws moved into this area, turning it into their little living quarters. In O, there's a archer's gallery. This is where people look out and shoot along the causeway. Doesn't really get used, so it's covered in cobwebs. P is a kitchen. There's a chef dwarf in here called Tham. He will complain bitterly about the lack of ingredients to make good meals. He gets all his supplies from lizard folk who hunt. through to Q. This is a great hall. Cultists eat their meal and conduct their business in this hall. Half the tables are actually covered in a bit of a treasure hoard. Loads of money, semi-precious stones, potion of greater healing. Loot won't be possible while the cultists are alive, and there's always 12 cultists and 4 dragon claws in here. There's nothing much of interest in S, sadly, but this is a staircase down to what I called the basement earlier. T has 10 giant centipedes. Use that as more of a surprise attack. Then in the middle of the courtyard is this little tower known as a keep. So walking into this keep, you'd have to go up 3 little steps and there's a stout wooden door. It's not locked. And then it's into the guest room where at the moment Asbara Joss was staying. They're warm and comfortable. Joss keeps all his valuables on him. The only thing he leaves in here are silk clothes, his travelling spellbook, which is locked inside a box of silver inlaid redwood. It does have a trap on it, Melf's Acid Arrow. 4d6 damage immediately, plus another 4d6 damage at the end of the character's next turn. There is a key, and Joss carries the key around his neck on a string. So generally speaking, floor 1, they're just sneaking around, having a good look at how many numbers are around, maybe picking up some items if cleverly stealthy. This is just where you learn that players can go anywhere. They can see a stairs and go down it. They can see stairs and go up it. You need to have this rough idea of what's where. Level 1's map faces this way. Level's 2 map should be there, but no, faces like that. I have no reason why, but it just does. So, I have done my level 2 map also like that. But some of these blank areas obviously have nothing on this level, so we're only doing the rooms here. Starting with A. So this area has no roof. It does have 9 bullywugs. Hundreds of melon-sized stones are littered around the battlements for throwing down on the heads of attackers. The main feature of this area is a huge drum. It's a hollowed-out log. This can be heard for miles. Using different signals, it passes messages all across the area. All the way over in E, if you remember, there's a rotten floor that they could look up through. Any beams over the expanse below are slick with slippery goo, fungus and mould. But precariously on a remaining ledge is a locked chest. No explanation of why it's there really. The lock can be opened and it contains 1,825 copper, 54 silver, pair of gold earrings. At the top of the winding stairs is a locked trapdoor. It's got a chalk message written in Dwarvish. It's a warning that there's a powerful undead in the room above, with basically a rune stopping the thing from getting out. F is the loft to the stables, where you could climb up a ladder. There's a few bats here, but nothing else. G, the upper barracks. This is where Farbeck Spatterglue and his personal retinue of 10 bullywugs sleep and live. Not even Resmere and Borngrey are welcome up in this part. There is a chest up there too, wrapped in chains and padlocked. Inside, there's a loads of bits and bats, which are worth about 1,300 GP. A lot of it is garish jewellery that Farblex finds lovely and shiny, but anyone else would just laugh at. It's like old ladies' jewellery. In H, it's all rusted, but it was where they kept their weapons. So lots of rusted weapons, basically. But because the room underneath it has a furnace, this is probably the warmest room in the building. So actually beneath the rusted and rotting weapons are newer weapons hidden underneath on purpose by lizard folk. In J and K, these rooms are actually empty. But the characters might notice that the doors make no sound from being well oiled. Someone's using them to sneak about. It's the lizard folk, to avoid wakening the bullywugs. Now there's another trapdoor above that is pinned shut with iron spikes. Obviously again keeping something in above. Over in L is an outer library. Crates, chests of books, stolen from all across the land and not sorted or catalogued. The little M room, that is a reading room. A small table and 2 chairs are the only furnishings. In N, it's a library, the main inner library. Parchments, tablets, books, obviously. It contains over 100 books, manuscripts about philosophy, astronomy, magic. It's a priceless collection. 1 dragon wing and 4 cultists spend their time there, organising the books. Just past there in P is kitchen storage. Think of it like a pantry. 7 cultists stay in T, but they're not there during the day. R has 5. Again, they're milling about and practising through the day. The second level of the keep is entirely occupied by Born Grey. It's a sitting room, an office in one, a small hearth providing heat, a writing desk, a large padded chair, and a bench are drawn up near the hearth. Otherwise, the room is largely empty. Now, V and W is the sleeping chamber, furnished with a bed, a carpet-draped table with a wash basin, grooming supplies, a stool. A rug covers most of the floors. A raven in the large cage squawks loudly enough to be heard if a stranger enters. A small strongbox is hidden under a loose floorboard underneath the rug. Born Grey has the key for it on his belt. There's some valuables in it, but nothing magical. And that is level 2. So in E, when the Academy of Stargazers moved in, they killed a lot of people who lived here. So residents were murdered in this room, and they are still there as 3 spectres. They're quite happy until somebody opens the door. The room contains a large table, star charts in racks, 3 dead bodies on the floor, reduced to powdery dust. They rise and attack as soon as someone comes in, and there's not a great deal in here other than scrolls and a battle. Maybe some surviving star charts. Again, G, bit of a waste of time, unused chamber. I and J has 5 giant spiders. These guys are right in the top beams, so it just looks dusty and dirty and there's bones on the floor. Again, it's another battle. Back over in L, above the library is Resmir's office. No one uses these chambers except Resmir. They stand apart from all the other rooms. It's the best one. It's got a writing desk, several smaller tables, stacked with inventories, reports, wooden chairs made out of the best wood, onyx carvings of black dragons flank the top of the stairs. Those black dragons would be worth like 3,000 gold for the pair. And here is the most important part. In this office somewhere is a piece of paper which says Drezir. That is the command word for the teleportation circle in the basement. M is Resmir's sitting room. N is the sleeping chamber. A large bed, 2 wardrobes, standing mirror, an armour stand with a spare suit of scale mail armour. Wardrobe full of clothing. There's purple robes, cloaks, many items of rank, but not the black dragon mask, which comes into play in the Rise of Tiamat. Because Resmir is a half-dragon, the clothes probably won't fit anyone else. The wardrobe itself is trapped. It has a vial of acid which explodes, causing 76 acid damage. All the items and clothing will be ruined, including the dragon statues. One of a few easily portable items of value is a 2-foot statuette of a black dragon, made from actual black dragon scales and claws, with ruby eyes and diamond teeth. Its value is 4,800 gold and only weighs 20 pounds. If you damage it, however, the value goes down to 1,200 gold. Small room O. This is where Resmir retires to venerate Tiamat privately. The room is bare apart from a decoration of the 5-headed dragon rising from a volcano. So this is where he does his praying, if you will. P is just a different set of kitchen storage, pantry stuff. It's a winding staircase all the way up, which I didn't draw on, to be fair. Over in R, again, 6 dragon wings, which are the higher-ups from cultists. There's another little small hearth to keep the place warm. S is in fact completely unused. T contains 6 cultists who study their spellbooks for practicing their magic craft. It has 3 stools, 3 writing desks, and a basin of water. Now U, back in the middle, is what the Stargazers converted into an astrological observatory. So this is where the magic item is. The Farseer of Ilusk. Looking through it, you have to do an Arcana check. If you succeed, you see a black dragon. We mentioned Varaghamanathar before, who lives in this area. He has a twin called Waverendor. Very few people know that there's twins dragons. People often wonder, how does he cover such great distances? Well, this is how. Then all that we have left is the basement. We come down number 1. This is the entry cavern. This steps down from the southwest tower, and it's brightly lit by one lantern hanging next to the entrance. There's a sound of dripping water, and there are muddy footprints underfoot. Over in Area 2 is the Grey Ooze Lair. If characters search this area, they do see glints of gems beneath the water. This is because some devoted cultists throw little bits of coins and jewels into this unused room, thinking of it as a retirement fund, just skimming off the top of the treasure. But all the items except gems dissolve in the ooze's body. So it's a grey ooze fight. Round down the steps is number 3, Mud Room. It's a flooded room with mud. Bullywugs roll around. 2 bullywugs maintain the mud at just the right consistency. They don't leap to the attack when characters enter, but they are hostile and quick to anger. It's a bit of a stepping stone situation without falling in the mud if the characters go through. Over in number 4, Centipede Lair. It's an empty chamber normally, but swarms of centipedes live in niches along the western wall. They are frightened away by light. They attack any group that isn't carrying a torch. There are 2 swarms of centipedes per party member. 5 has a number, but it's completely useless. It just gets you from A to B. Number 6, the Frog Lake. This is where you can find Farblex himself. A giant frog sits on the island in the middle and watches them. At some point, as the characters get close to the edge of number 6, off the island comes a giant frog and then 12 other giant frogs. Number 7 is Frog Landing. There can be as many as 12 giant frogs plus 5 bullywugs just hanging out here, as frogs do. Bones and skeletons and 3 sets of iron shackles anchored to the stone with a human, elf, dwarf and halfling bones around. 8 is the Dragon Hatchery. Giant frog tadpoles are raised here. It's guarded by 2 bullywugs to keep adults out. Now at 9, there's a wooden crank-powered crane that lowers heavy crates down from Area 10. There's a wooden ladder lashed to the ledge for climbing up and down. 10 has mist flowing out of Area 2, through 9 and up into this room. It's just a place where the condensation and stuff catches. 11 is a shrine. Niches in the walls are filled with carvings of frogs. Larger carvings sit on the floor. Religion skills recognise elements in these designs taken from the worship of both Garnadar, god of slimes, and Shah, goddess of shadows. Farblex has no real understanding of all the treasures and things that he's seen. He just likes shiny objects and frogs. He's not particularly religious as such. Area 12 is Farblex's sanctum. This is the only place Farblex goes alone. His bodyguards will wait in Area 10 or 11, while Farblex communes with the great powers. There's a mud-covered chair and a reading table, a box of candles and a wooden chest. The chest isn't locked, but it is trapped. 6 clay pots will drop from holes in the ceiling, each with a hallucinogenic frog poison. A hallucinating creature will see that all the other people are transformed into nightmarish frog-like monstrosities. While affected, the creature can't take reactions and must roll a die at the start of each of its turns. If the die is odd, the creature must use its action to get the hell out of there and go underwater. If it's even, the hallucinating creature must attack the nearest creature to it as if it's hostile, and that effect lasts for 10 minutes. You can drown a character this way. Now there are 2 spell books that have been stolen by the Frogman down here. One belonged to a 7th level wizard containing spells up to level 4, and the other was written by a 9th level wizard, contains spells up to level 5. The DM sorts that out. Being wizard spells, the magic is beyond Farblex's ability to learn, and he keeps reading the books, hoping that he will suddenly grasp them. Area 13. The mist from Area 10 does float into here at a height of 3 feet. On the floor of an otherwise empty room is a permanent teleportation circle carved into the floor, obscured by mist. You have to say Drezir. If you do, all in the circle disappear and start at the next chapter. Well, I hope that helps, and I hope that you're enjoying playing the game and watching the series. Get in touch, let me know in the comments, and I will see you in the next video.